not just some of us, but all of us, own ourselves and are not private property of our employer. Say Juneteenth!
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 When I say workers, you say power! Workers!
Power!
Workers!
Power!
When I say union, you say power! Union!
Power!
Union!
Power!
Appointed him when he retired, and then Brendan running for election and he didn't get elected. And Brendan also represents the NWW cut in the election capacity with them, but he just has a great job and represents.
Long live Jeff Berry!
So, we're not going to see him tomorrow. if we even have
Long live Rob Thomas! Say their name! Say their name!
Yeah. In fact, Brendan in his last agency starting West Coast Sailors, thanks to this and another guy who for volunteering all his time and efforts.
Solidarity forever. Union makes us strong. Power. 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 Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Makes us strong.
So I bought my setting and my thing. Yeah, like oh yeah, I've been in Bernie since like
Solidarity forever. Forever. Makes us strong.
I say workers, you say power. Workers.
Power.
Workers.
Power.
Go ahead and
We are the workers!
Mighty, mighty workers.
The mighty, mighty workers!
Everywhere we go.
Everywhere we go!
People want to know
People want to know
who we are.
who we are. So we tell them we are the union.
Mighty, mighty union.
Mighty, mighty union. Fighting for freedom. Marching for freedom.
We are the workers.
We are the workers. Mighty, mighty workers. People want to know who we are. So we tell them we are the union. Mighty, mighty union. Marching for justice. Marching for freedom.
The message has been sent. The prison doors have opened wide and out the prisoners went. The Jung and Sable army of African descent as we go marching on. I'm singing you the Sojourner Truth lyrics. Sojourner Truth verses of solidarity wherever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever.
We're making that kid cry.
My mom didn't like that. She didn't think
Solidarity forever. Forever makes us strong.
I can't complain. I had a chance to be on the plane. We're going to go here, little overpass. We're going to go back down there and that's
Is this more than
and we're already
Hi.
so we're almost there.
Not sure.
Right.
The morning of it, I was like, what is up with this park specifically? We were in Maryland Park again, and the same thing happened. And we were like, what? Hackles and he's never allowed to play in our general. Like, he can't, like,
I am in it while there is injustice done to me, while there is a criminal element. I am of it while there is a soul in prison. I am not free. Oh! While there is a lawless class, I am in it. While there is injustice, it is just to me. While there is a criminal element, I am of it. While there is a soul of slavery, I am not free. While there is a criminal element, I am of it. While there is a soul of slavery, I'm still not free.
Don't tell me you got a slave. Don't be surprised.
Long live Matt Turner! Long live Harriet Tubman!
Long live Harriet Tubman!
Long live Ben Martini! Long live! Long live Joe Hill! Long live Harry Bridges!
Long live Harry Bridges!
Long live Bill Chester! Long live Frank Jenkins!
Long live Frank Jenkins!
Union, you say power! Union!
Power!
Union!
Power!
Say word, you say power! What?
Power!
Workers!
Power!
Juneteenth!
Juneteenth!
Emancipation!
Emancipation!
Long live the workers!
Long live the workers!
Down with the boss!
Down with the boss! Fuck SSA!
Are there lots of things you like? Is your life made up of misery? Then come the bosses off your mind. Are your folks all born in Are you living in a shack? Would you see your troubled sky? Then come the bosses off your mind. Are you all like a long jacket?
I heard people say never safe, but I missed what happened.
They don't have the logo for why is that Wonderland Reyes? That's great.
Juneteenth! Freedom Day! Emancipation! Worker power! Union power!
Eat 46! All in
Everywhere we go, people want to know who we are. So we tell them we are the workers, mighty, mighty workers. For justice.
Marching with the union.
Mighty, mighty union.
Repeat it a couple more times.
Yeah.
You just get into it. And
Yeah. Need the loud people in front. A bunch of little mics in front. The loud people. Yeah. Yeah, I've organized it all for you. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Perfect. Yeah. Perfect. You too. Yeah, do what I can. 5 years. Yeah. Yeah. 2018 was my first shift. First March was 2020, so.
I remember on the 2021 was
Yeah, it was cool, yeah.
That's always so nice.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Kim Ferris. I think he did it the first time, maybe the second time too. He's a longshoreman. Yeah.
if I sent the email or the mail to them,
No more slavery.
APRI list,
No more slavery over me.
Oh, yeah.
for the speakers at
Yeah, I don't know. Can check when we get there.
No more weeping. No more weeping. No more weeping over me. For before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave. Take my place. No more chain gang. No more chain gang over me. For before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave. Take my place with those who marched and fought before. We're almost there!
Almost there. Almost there.
Hold the fort, for we are coming! Union hearts beat strong! Side by side we battle onward, victory will come! Juneteenth!
Juneteenth!
Juneteenth! Union.
We are the Union.
Mighty, mighty Union.
Mighty, mighty Union.
Everywhere we go.
Everywhere we go.
People want to know
People want to know
who we are.
who we are.
So we tell them
So we tell them
we are the workers.
we are the workers.
Mighty, mighty workers.
Mighty, mighty workers.
Marching on for freedom.
Marching on for freedom.
Marching on for justice.
Marching on for justice. Woo! Juneteenth.
Emancipation.
Emancipation.
Long live John Brown.
Long live John Brown.
Long live Harriet Tubman.
Long live Harriet Tubman.
Long live Nat Turner.
Long live Nat Turner.
Long live Harry Bridges.
Long live Harry Bridges.
Long live Joe Hill.
Long live that guy.
Long live Frank Jenkins.
Long live Frank Jenkins.
Long live Dewey Bennett.
Long live Huey something.
Dewey Bennett was our first dispatcher in Local 19. Long live Ron Magden.
Long live I don't know about that.
Read his books. Read his books.
Even though they're kind of racist.
That's how you know Dewey Bennett was the first dispatcher. Long live Harry Bridges.
Down almost here. I don't know, I'm ready to walk over here. Yeah, but you need to be.
We're almost there. Union hearts beat strong. Side by side, battle onward, victory will come.
Well, I kind of was lazy this morning, so it was like last minute.
No more slavery. No more slavery. No more slavery over me.
For me.
Or before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave. Take my place with those who marched and fought before. No more auctions.
No
No more auctions. No more auctions over me. For before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave. Take my place with those who marched and fought before. We are done with hoeing cotton. We are done with hoeing corn. We are the Union Army now, as sure as you were born. When Master hears us yelling, he will think it's Gabriel's horn as we go marching on.
Forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Make us strong.
our numbers still increasing, hear the bugles blow. By our union, we will triumph over every foe. Hold the fort, for we are union marching strong.
Good, good. Hey.
Oh, yes, it will. But look here now. If I go to my brother, and I said, brother, help me please. But he wind up knocking me.
Hey. Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth.
Let me know as soon as you want to start talking, and then I'll turn the mic off.
These things scare me. The camera, so that he moved it, so it's only on the man. It needs to move back so that you can get Gabriel. Do that because I think, yeah, he's
Okay. I'm live streaming, yeah. Okay. Or else I would. Maybe I'll get somebody else to do it. I think they need to move the camera. Oh, is he doing it? She wants you to move the camera back to the stage. Yeah? Okay. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. What's happening out there? I'm looking to have me a good day out there. Is everybody gonna have a good day?
Yeah!
Let's go, fellas. sunlight hurts my eyes. Something without wanting love, heavy on my mind. Then I look at you, and the world all right with me. Hey, and just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be a lovely day. A lovely day. When the day that lies ahead of me seems impossible to face, someone else instead of me always seems to know the way. But then I look at you, and the world's all right with me. Yeah, just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be a lovely day. When the day that lies ahead of me seems impossible to face, 'cause someone else instead of me always seems to know the way. But then I look at you, and the world's all right with me. Yeah, just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be a lovely day. A lovely day. Such a lovely day. A lovely day. Every time I look in your eyes, it's feel alright. A lovely day. A lovely day. A lovely day. A lovely day. I got to let you know right now, feel alright. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Lovely day. Lovely day. A lovely day. A lovely day. A lovely day. Hey, yeah, yeah. Mr. Curtis Steele, y'all on keyboard.
Hey, thanks for coming.
Hey, how's everybody doing one more time? Let me hear you say yeah.
Yeah.
Have a good day. Run ahead. Good day, yeah. Let's do our thing. Don't leave me down. Don't leave me down. Say my name is Gina Thompson out there. How y'all do? I say, how y'all do?
Good.
All right, then. Let's give it up to Mr. Geek on Central, y'all, on the top. Mr. Steve Banks on drums. And we got Mr. Curtis Seals on keyboards in the house tonight. And right here on bass, let's give it up to Jerome Gates, y'all. J Bones in the house. Little song here called Into the Future. The movement of today, we moving into the future, is a little original song I wrote. I just wanted to see whether or not your guys want to say, what's up?
What's up?
Let's do it, fellas. Called Into the Future. We moving into the future. I just want y'all to know that. yeah. Stop and think about who you are and your ancestors. It's good to know where they were coming from. To make you proud and positive, you got to keep moving, moving and grooving. Got to keep moving, moving and grooving. Into the future, yeah. To the future, yeah. Into the future, y'all. Into the future, yeah. Got to keep on moving. Yeah. Come on, Kirk, man. Yeah. Thank you so much, y'all. We're going to turn it over to the announcer up there. The announcer.
Good morning, beautiful people.
Good morning.
Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth.
We want to thank you all for coming out this morning. We're so excited to be here, and we're so excited to see all of you this morning. I hope you guys really enjoy this day, and there's some freshmen over there under the red tent. We have some awesome speakers today lined up for you, and we're just gonna, and some more of the CT and the Classic Soul Band will play again shortly. So we're gonna start off this morning with an opening prayer, and we're gonna from Pastor Johnson. Pastor Johnson is the NBC USA Hope Far West Regional Coordinator. Currently, he also serves as the president of the North Pacific Baptist Convention. Pastor Johnson has been the senior pastor of Mount Zion MBC in Bremerton, Washington for the past 15 years. He is also the founder and executive director of Partnering for Youth Achievement, PYA. He is the moderator of Police and Community Together, meeting where actions are put into place to allow police to be a part of the community and not just show up when there is trauma. Please welcome Pastor Richmond Johnson.
Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth.
Can I get somebody to shout out Happy Emancipation Day?
Happy Emancipation Day.
Amen. I give glory to God, to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, honor to our missions and ceremony, and to all of you who are present here today.
We want to start off with prayer, as we said. And so it's all right to bow your heads, it's all right to close your eyes if you want to, get your mind off your pain. You're in a safe place. The peace of God is here, and we're praying. Father, we come thanking you that things are as well as they are. Lord, we thank you that we have people in place today to move us to have justice in our society, move us to have equality in our community and in our government. Lord God, let us leave this place today understanding that we are building bridges for better tomorrows. Lord God, we thank you that you're helping us to treat our essential workers right. We thank you that the minimum wage is going to raise so that our people that are called essential workers will have a livable income. Lord, we thank you that we're here today to celebrate liberty. And we give you all the glory and all the praise for the peace and the joy that we will experience today as we leave here, realizing that we're getting ready to put plans into action so that we might be prosperous and so that we might have economic stability in our community, in our lives, and in our homes. In Jesus' name, everybody agree with that prayer, said amen. We thank God for our unions that are here today. Come on, let's just thank God for the union representation here today. I'm thankful for the leadership in the A. Philip Randolph institution under the leadership of Mr. Gabriel. Mr. Gabriel is here. Raise your hand, man. We all just thank God for him. Amen. Now, a lot of you don't understand how powerful he is and how he continues to help our communities, our states, and all over this country build powerful unions that fight for economic, political, and social justice in our workplaces and in our communities. How important is that? If y'all think that's important, come on, put them hands together. As we come to moving past this pandemic, many are saying there was an endemic in certain places, and now we're hearing that it's no-demic. But I'm telling you, we still need health care. We still need protection from demics. And COVID-19 has shone a bright light on the gross inequality in our workplaces and in our communities. Now, the reason we are celebrating Juneteenth is because Juneteenth also shines a bright light on hidden truths. The truth of Juneteenth is slavery was ended and people didn't know it. People were kept in slavery because of that hidden truth. Now, I'm originally from Texas, so I know how we've been celebrating it for a long time. But a lot of those truths that were hidden stopped us from enjoying benefits of basic needs. One reason it was hidden was because we allowed slavery to be justified. Even in the church, it was justified. It was justified based on somebody finding a scripture in the Bible that said a man cursed one of his sons, and the son ended up turning black and was a slave. Now, when you look at that, you see that the one that they said cursed the man, and was Noah. And what he did was he cursed his grandson, Cain, not his son, Ham. But because of that mistruth, we had a culture that identified black people as less than human. This was the first time in the history of our world where one group of people enslaved another group of people and identified them less than human. Slavery was not new. But when you call black people less than human, you make it and so black people are not humans. They're not fully humans. But when you look at the curse that's in the Bible, it was a drunk man cursing somebody. Anybody here ever been cussed out by a drunk man? Y'all don't want to say nothing because some of y'all was drunk and cussed somebody out. What does that mean? That means absolutely nothing. There was no curse of Ham. Black people have always been blessed. And when you look at the sons of Ham, one of sons, Noah's Noah's son Ham had a son named Misraim. And when you look up Misraim, you'll find out that Misraim is in the Hebrew as Egypt. So we have a whole nation named after a black man. Now that ain't going over good, but I'm telling you, the tragedy is that people have been destroyed because of a lack of knowledge, and we're listening to other people tell us who we are without doing the research to find out who we are. You know why that is? Because thinking is the hardest thing we do. That's why so few people do it. That's why the unions have empowered you to think for yourself. And Mr. Gabriel is a strategic thinker. Come on, let's thank God for strategic thinkers. I'm just about finished. But I'm believing that we are treating essential workers just like slaves.
Yeah.
How you gonna pay somebody a minimum wage and they're not able to pay for their shelter, they're not able to pay for their health care, they're not able to even pay for their groceries. So right now, when we look at the union has put us in place right now to protect our health care workers. How many been to the doctor in the last month or so? Last year. How many know we need health care workers?
Yeah.
Let me just pause, give me about 2 more minutes. How many know we need to stand up for our grocery workers? It's been said that we're all in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat. We got folk riding around in yachts, and some of us still in a canoe. Grocery workers have been deemed essential workers by the government for the last several centuries. They are constantly on the front line of natural disasters, natural crisis, risking their lives to ensure America is fed no matter what. But despite that reality, QFC and Fred Mars, which are part of that Kroger team, have been cutting the pay of health workers, cutting the pay of grocery workers. How many know that's wrong? Somebody say that's not right.
No!
And so we need to show our appreciation to grocery workers with more than words. Come on, they need to be fairly compensated.
Yeah.
Now I got about a minute and a half, but I'm telling you, black folk need to be fairly compensated. Okay, that ain't gonna come up on your blind side. If we can come up with money all over this United States to pay for Juneteenth and let people off, we can come up with some money for reparations. Somebody say reparations is next.
Reparations is next!
I'm at that point now where I believe it's essential that we support our unions.
Yes.
Because if we do not support our unions, we're not going to have livable wages. So right now, as I leave the podium, I got to catch a plane. I hope that motorcycle is not in the way of the Lexus. I got to go. But we want to thank God for our union representation here today one more time. Come on, put them hands together. I believe we're going to leave this celebration motivated to build bridges between social and economic justice. I believe we have leaders here who will champion the cause of the common people and balance the scales between the haves and the have-nots. I believe right now we're being empowered to bring blacks, whites, Hispanics, reds, yellow, and browns together as brothers and sisters. I believe we're going to start treating each other as neighbors. How many know we're supposed to love our neighbor? And love is the answer right now to bringing us together. This is going to work out. Somebody say reparation is next.
Reparations is next!
Give it up for Pastor Johnson. Thank you, Pastor Johnson. We appreciate you. Have a safe trip. Next, we'd like to welcome Vice President of ILWU Local 19, Matt Ventoza.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
All right. A little birdie told me from my brothers and sisters at Local 19 that
Let's talk about
if this contract is approved, Juneteenth is going to be added to our holiday list. I kind of want to know what you think about that.
Yeah.
All right. So in honor of Juneteenth, I got a couple of quotes here that I'd like to read from individuals that I very much respect. The first two are by Martin Luther King, the last one's by Booker T. Washington. Martin Luther said, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." His next one was, "Make a career of humanity. Commit yourself to the noble struggle for equal rights. You will make a better person of yourself, a greater nation for your country, and a finer world to live in." And Booker T followed it up with, "There are two ways of exerting one's strength. One is pushing down, the other is pulling up." The ILWU has a long history of accepting all walks of life into our union. The color is no different. We don't see color. We should never define someone because of their color, nor should we ever forget the horrific past of slavery in this country and around the world. We should not and cannot allow the past to be erased and rewritten only to be forgotten by the next generation. We cannot forget where we have come from and where we are going. The ILWU will always represent diversity within our ranks now and into the future. Thank you.
Put your hands together for Matt one more time. Next on our agenda is President ILWU Local 52, Chris Romiscer.
Senor Romiscer.
Hurry up, Chris!
Carpenter. Yeah.
Well, thank you for allowing me to speak. I didn't realize I was supposed to speak. But I want to thank all the organizations that came out today. This is an awesome event to show our solidarity, especially in times where organized labor is under attack everywhere, and the working class is under attack by the employer class everywhere.
Yeah.
The fact that the ILWU, the fact that all the other unions are willing to stand up for everybody's rights, regardless of your color, your creed, your religion, is an awesome thing that should be celebrated. And as Brother Ventoza said, we as the ILWU want to show our appreciation for what the African Americans and other races have had to go through, and celebrate this holiday is an awesome thing for our union. And the members that just went down to negotiate the contract that have come back, they're trying to bring forth further gains for our union and for the labor movement as a whole. So we thank you guys for coming out, and appreciate everything that everybody's doing to further along unionism and labor solidarity. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Been very, very good.
Is Katie Garrow in the house? Katie Garrow, MLK Labor.
That's 12. She's coming at 12.
12 noon.
Where's our president, Gabriel Prawl? ILWU Local 52.
Yeah, Gabriel!
President of the A. Philip Randolph Institute Seattle Chapter, Puget Sound co-convener of the Million Workers March. And my husband.
Yeah. Woo! Love you, Gabriel. Oh!
I've been told I have only 3 minutes. I don't know if that's going to work. But greetings. Greetings, brothers and sisters. Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth.
It's good seeing all of us out here today. That's including myself.
That's right.
It is great. The sun is shining. Some people are saying it was going to rain.
No.
I tell them we was against the rain. On a very important day today, we celebrate when the last enslaved black people in the state of Texas were notified that they were free.
Yeah.
And through legislation, it became a state holiday in Washington state and then a federal holiday through the Senate and the House. But let's be clear about this, about one thing. Slavery was a system designed to provide a permanent labor supply to develop the new world. The effort to enslave the indigenous were not successful, for they could not adjust to labor in captivity and often escape into the familiar terrain of the forest free. White workers or laborers were scarce and were unwilling to work when cheap. Are you guys hearing me?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. When cheap land was available, white endangered servitude was an important source of labor in some colonies, but it is limited and could not meet the growing demands. Negroes could be forced into slavery more easily than white. Today, workers of all colors suffer from the fruit of slavery. When you have worked like a Starbucks worker, Amazon workers who continue to fight to unionize, the farm workers who are immigrant workers being exploited, underpaid, and overworked, retail workers who work 2 jobs still don't make enough to take care of their family or save for their kids to attend college. Or about workers or students who living out of their car because they cannot afford to pay rent. What about some of many people that are homeless in one of the richest countries in the world? I'm gonna say something from this book, and I'll tell you the name of this book is called Organized Workers and the Black Workers. Organized labor and the black workers, thank you. A study shows from the formation of the first trade union in 1790 to the mid-1930s, the practice of organized labor so far as black workers were concerned was largely of outright exclusion or segregation. Yet this study also makes clear that there has been exception. Black and white unity was attempted at several periods in the history of the labor movement before 1930. And despite the bitter opposition of employers and section of the trade union leadership and rank and file in some instance, it achieved lasting success. Not many are willing to acknowledge that the racist policies and practice of organized labor created a privileged group of white workers at the expense of black workers. And this strengthened the employer's ability to divide the working class and weaken the effort to unionize major industry. The working men and working women's success is simply impossible without unity, unite and harmonized action. For example, if the machinists tell the wielder of the pick and the shovel, if you want better wages, you must get in on your own hook. If the clerk said to the coal heaver, between you and I there is a gulf fixed, or if a white says to the black, I don't recognize you as a fellow workman or woman or workwoman, and these feelings prevail, there is the end of hope for the labor movement. Therefore, organized labor should champion the cause of all labor, unorganized as well as organized, black as well as white, indigenous, people of all races, all sexes, genders, and identities. The greater will, it will only create the greater will of victory. The more lasting, the more permanent, the more beneficial, and the more far-reaching will be its success. Brothers and sisters, I'm just overwhelmed to see the diversity and unity you're here today. Brothers and sisters, we are together, and we should remain together in the labor movement. This is the only way that we can defeat the oppression, defeat the attack on workers, and have the power to organize the unorganized. My time is up. I'm being told my time is up, but it is a lovely day to be over here today, and I just want to say I'm thankful, I should say. I'm thankful to be the part of the ILWU, one of the most powerful unions on the West Coast and around the world.
Yeah.
And I want to say thank you also to the RWU for taking the step back in 1920 to start the first Juneteenth on the waterfront. And when the workers did that, they took a day off to do that. They skip a paycheck to do that. That means a lot to me, and it meant a lot to the working people.
Yeah.
2020 was a great start.
Yeah.
Now we are in 2023, 4 years later, and we're still going. This is called organized unity. Next year, and I have to share this because I was part of the Million Worker March. I'm still part of the Million Worker March. And the Million Worker March in 2004 called on all working class people to come to DC on our workers' demand. In 2024 will be the 20th anniversary of the Million Worker March. And we are trying to organize to take workers back to DC on our workers' agenda.
Yeah.
Because we elect people to carry out the working class agenda, but they will not carry our agenda unless we are at the table.
Yeah.
So we need to be at the table.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, and thank you for coming.
Yeah, Gabriel!
Working people, power to the community.
Yeah, Gabriel!
Stop. Right now. You need to stop.
Put your hands together for Mr. Prawl one more time.
Yeah, Gabriel!
Next, we have Brother Joaquin Garrett, Africa Town Land Trust.
Woo!
Is Brother Joaquin in the house? Let's welcome Reverend Harriet Walding, Mothers for Police Accountability.
Woo!
Are you getting me please?
Good to see you. Good to see you. I'm glad you guys came out. Great to see you. Oh, no, I wasn't. Sunday noon, though. Be in the sanctuary. Oh, yeah.
She has something to say.
Jack in the music. So we separate. I got to come by with them.
All right. Okay. Hey, everybody.
Hey!
I might look like I'm old, but I'm not. Don't get it twisted. I just needed a young man there with me. My boys ain't here. They here, but they not here. All right. Well, let's get one thing right. That it's been 162 years for this day to come. Okay, 162 years. Juneteenth. Wow. 250,000 people were freed that day. And according to the Washington Post, a lot of them were still in bondage after that. But see, this is the critical race theory is out in the open. You don't have to worry about teaching it. It is what it is. My ancestors been here before the Civil War. And that's a long time. So, and we still fighting this fight. I'm going to just remember Lonnie Nelson. Her father helped start the ILWU in Washington State. Lonnie was a longtime member of Mothers, and Lonnie was a longtime communist. And all of that. But one of the things that I say, I've lived a whole life being self-employed. I'm not against business owners and people owning a business and making a decent wage. But I think what we don't know is that when President Eisenhower was the president, who was alive when President Eisenhower was it? Oh, we got a few people here. Okay, he was a Republican, but at that time the corporations paid 50% of their profits in taxes. Reagan moved the tax bracket back to the middle class. The middle class don't make enough money to support the nation. And so the problem is capitalism gone amok. Okay, because capitalism as itself, you gotta have capital. You need capital to have a business. I mean, I started a business with a little bit of capital. Okay, but the middle class and the working class people does not have enough money to support a nation. I mean, what we need to do is change the laws and make it against the law for these corporations to put their money in offshore banks. Okay? That's what we need to be working for. Because if the money came back to America, they'd have to pay taxes on it. And that's what's missing is the taxes. There's nobody out here make enough money to support anything in Seattle. But we know Basil does.
Yeah.
We know that these people do. So, organizing, Paul, what happened to the song about organizing? Joe Hill. Who knows Joe Hill? What happened to Joe Hill? Did Joe Hill die? No, Joe Hill went on to what? Organize, right? So that's what we're doing now. We're organizing. And that's what this is about. The world is always about organizing. You start the kids organizing in kindergarten. They might not like the green crayon. They want the yellow crayon. So teach them how to organize. And just teach and understand brotherhood and sisterhood. Because we all need air. We all came here the same way. And one day, we'll all leave the same way. So why not work together for unity for all people? Because see, I like being a business owner all my life. What I learned about union workers, a good union job raises the level for everybody in the community. Because a man who makes more money, he takes his wife out to dinner more.
Yeah.
The kids get a haircut more.
Yeah.
They get new shoes more.
Yeah.
And so a good job raises the standard of living for everybody.
Yeah.
And why not everybody making a good wage? Why not? You know, as Russell Wilson's dad said, why not you, Russell? So why not us?
Yeah.
Why do all other people make good money? So here, I'm just here to say, keep encouraged. You know, Mother's has been around 33 years. You know, I used to look a little different than I do today. But you know what? Life is good. You know, thank you so much. But you know what's good about it? That we come out. We don't let the news dim us down. We know that there's a higher power in the world. I'm going to always believe in a higher power because the slaves, our ancestors made it through, not because we had a lot of help, but because we had determination to live. And we have to be just determined now as we were then. And so I just appreciate you all. The other thing that the pastor was talking about was that the mighty Africans built those pyramids. I don't care what they want to say. Okay, the mighty Africans did. And so we, as the descendants of the people who lived on another continent, we have something within us. And I want to say one more thing about Florida. That's my home state. And the people in Florida want to march us back. And you know why they want to march us back? Because we're the only people in America that's in the Constitution. Now, I know we can talk about everybody else, but we, the Negro, is in the Constitution. That's why they want to overturn Brown versus Board of Education, because that would take us back to Jim Crow. So you need to watch Florida. Florida will be a bellwether state. So we need to watch Florida. I have a book list for people to send books to Florida because the black people in Florida are organizing Saturday schools to teach their children. So we need to watch Florida, okay? We need to watch Florida and Tennessee because those are the states that we need to understand what's happening. They want to march us back to the plantation. And we need to say, hell no, we ain't going. We need to say, hell no, we ain't going. Hell no, we ain't going back, okay? I ain't never seen a clock run backwards, have you? No, hell no, we ain't going back. Thank you very much.
All right,
Thank you, Mama Harriet. We love you. Give it up one more time for Mother Harriet. Next, we're going to have a quick selection from our band. So welcome C.T. Thompson and the Classic Soul Band one more time. Again, we have light refreshments under the red tents. If anybody want to grab a snack and some water.
Okay, can you just point this
How y'all
towards the
doing
band?
one more time?
Point it towards the band, yeah.
Man, I sure enjoyed those speeches because they really keep us, keep our mind working, you know? We got to know that we going into the future, and I'm on that bus. I'm riding that bus into the future. If anybody recognize this song, you got $2,000. Where my money is? I thought I had some money. Oh, there it is. I found it. If you recognize this song, you got 3 seconds, $2,000. You got 3 seconds.
Mustang.
1, 2, 3. Huh. Mustang.
Girl, you better slow your Mustang down. All right. Mustang, silent now, baby. Girl, you better slow your Mustang down. All right. You'll be running all over town. Oh, I think you better put your back feet on the ground. Yeah. I bought you a fancy Mustang, a 1965. Yeah, you run around signifying, woman, and won't even let me ride. Mustang, silent now, baby. Girl, you better slow your Mustang down. All right. 'Cause one of these early mornings, you gonna find yourself wiping your weeping eye. Yeah. All you wanna do is a ride around Sally. All you wanna do is a ride around Sally. Hey, all you wanna do is ride around Sally. All you wanna do is ride around Sally. You'll be running all over town. Oh, I think you better put your feet on the ground. Yeah, yeah. One more time, fella, one more. All you wanna do is ride around Sally. Ride, Sally, ride. You wanna do is ride around Sally. Ride, Sally, ride. All you wanna do is ride around Sally. Ride, Sally, ride. All you put your back feet on the ground, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, hey, I bought you a fancy Mustang, a 1965. Girl, you run around signifying, woman, and won't even let me ride. Mustang, silent now, baby. Girl, you better slow your Mustang down. All right. You'll be running all over town. Oh, I think you better put your feet on the ground. Yeah, 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 yeah. baby. Girl, you better slow your Mustang down. All right. You'll be running all over town. I think you better put your flat feet on the ground. Yeah, yeah.
Gina P, Puget Sound Mobilization for Reproductive Justice.
Woo!
All right, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. In the back, can you hear me? All right, thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. As Vanessa said, I'm Gina P. I'm with the Puget Sound Mobilization for Reproductive Justice, and I'm the organizer for Radical Women, too. Thank you for that train honk. So I'm jumping in to cover for our other speaker who couldn't make it today, but I really appreciate this opportunity. Glad to be here. The Puget Sound Mobilization is bringing solidarity with everyone on this Juneteenth day. Woo! And we know that reproductive justice is, means to have a child or not, to be able to make a choice about whether or not you want to have a child. And we know that it is a workers' issue affecting Black and brown women and people the most when the access is not there.
Right.
So we're a multiracial coalition, and we are fighting for all of those aspects of reproductive justice, including one of our demands is to have strong unions. All right, the train likes that too. So we have members who are part of organized labor, and we work with labor in any way we can, including we're part of a national mobilization that has a national labor working group that has rank and file union activists who are pushing, where needed, pushing their leadership to do more on this issue. And speaking of pushing leadership, one of the campaigns that we're doing is an open letter to the AFL-CIO President Liz Shuler to call for a reproductive justice mobilizing conference that would bring not only those unions who are part of the AFL-CIO, but frankly all unions and all workers together to strategize in defense of reproductive justice. So if the AFL-CIO made that call, I think the train would respond, we know that. So I want to invite everyone, we have copies of the letter that you can sign today to Liz Shuler if you haven't signed it. And also, if you can see from down there, we have these green quarter sheet flyers because we want to invite everyone to be part of the Puget Sound Mobilization for Reproductive Justice. We have meetings on the 2nd and 4th Thursdays on Zoom, so you can get on from anywhere. So everyone is welcome to come. So we will keep up the fight for bodily autonomy for everybody, and including fighting against racism everywhere, including reproductive health care. So happy Juneteenth. Thank you for listening, and I hope to continue to work together in solidarity. Put your hands together for her one more time. Woo! Is there someone here from Washington State Labor Council? Washington State Labor Council? Any members in the house? Let's welcome Sierra Parson and Rick Reyes for WARI.
Yeah, I want to worry.
Happy Juneteenth, everybody. I'm
Happy
Sierra
Juneteenth.
Parsons, and this is...
Hey, I'm Ricky Reyes.
Happy Juneteenth!
We're here on behalf of WARI, a center for Black art and belonging sited in a fifth-generation Black-owned home in Seattle's Central District. Their mission is to create space for Black ownership, possibility, and belonging through art, historic preservation, and connection. In 2021, WARI piloted the Seattle Black Spatial Histories Institute to train... Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. In 2021, WARI piloted the Seattle Black Spatial Histories Institute to train community members like ourselves in oral history practice. This work is one way among many that WARI seeks to build collective power rooted in a legacy of Black resilience, creativity, and self-determination. We have been collecting stories centered on the history of Black experiences on the Seattle waterfront. Our narrators have included a number of Black longshoremen who have each been integral in breaking down barriers to union membership for Black workers here on the waterfront. I'm gonna pass it over to Ricky to share more.
Yeah, for us, when we look at all the people who do this work, a lot of the times none of them really look like us. They don't come from our own communities. They go to like Columbia, they pay $70,000 and then they want to write about us, but they don't even, have neighbors who look like us. So all of our training, it began in the community classroom. We were one of 6 folks. We're really looking at how Black folks can take history keeping into our own hands and collect stories about us, for us, and archive them within our own community. So really over the next year, we're really hoping to gather all of the stories and expand the public knowledge of all of the Black folks who have worked and contributed and lived and gathered to the waterfront that we, drive by every day, that's being redeveloped right in front of our eyes. So we'll be working on a zine that includes stories from Gabriel Prawl, from Gary Owens, rest in peace, from Marilyn Wandry, from Kim Ferrison, Loren Ferrison, and Kim Ferrison Jr., a 3-generation Longshore family. We'll also be having the interviews available and archived with the Black Heritage Society in both their hour-long form and also shorter interviews. And then at the end of the year, WARI will be having an installation to really talk through all of the things that Black folks have contributed to Seattle, because we just don't get recognized as much. And when we do, it's often by white folks. So we really want to keep that history rooted within our own community. So thank you for listening. Happy Juneteenth, and we hope to see you out there.
Yeah, I want to worry.
Put your hands together for WARI.
Woo!
Is Jolene with ILWU Canada in the building, in the space? Jolene? No? Jolene? Canada in the house? Going once? Going twice? Let's welcome Christine Lopez, member of the Freedom Socialist Party.
Woo!
Christine Lopez is a city worker represented by Teamsters 763. She is a shop steward and works at the municipal courts. The latest offer from the city of only a 1% COLA increase has inspired her to organize with other workers. She is also the coordinator of the Comrades of Color Caucus, a joint caucus of members of color from the Freedom Socialist Party and Radical Women, its sisters organization. Put your hands together for Christine Lopez.
Woo!
Happy Juneteenth, everyone.
Happy Juneteenth.
So glad to be here to celebrate freedom and the end of slavery. I want to thank the ILWU and the A. Philip Randolph Institute for organizing this rally and for inviting me to speak on behalf of the Freedom Socialist Party. I am a city worker represented by Teamsters 763, and I am so glad to have this day off. This is the second year the city has officially recognized this holiday thanks to black workers and labor unions.
Yeah.
Right now, let me gather all my paperwork. Right now, the city workers are in the middle of a contract fight because the city offered a 1% cost of living raise at a time when Seattle has one of the highest inflation rates in the country. The 1%, along with the cap COLA for the next 3 years, is an absolute insult. This amounts to a pay cut, making it harder to live in a city that has some of the most expensive rents and housing, most expensive fuel, grocery, childcare. Already, most of the city workers do not make enough to live in the city.
That's right.
Of Seattle. City workers deserve a contract that respects the work we do to keep this city going. We provide the social services that are so needed, like the library, parks, utilities, road maintenance, judicial system, and community service, and a whole lot more. So, I don't know what makes the city think that they can get away with giving us a 1% raise.
No way!
They probably think that we're gonna sit down and do nothing. But I can tell you, what are we city unions and workers doing? We're standing up and fighting back. That's where our strength is. The coalition of city unions, which is most of the labor unions who represent city workers, has initiated a contract action team. A petition was delivered to the mayor and city council, and currently the contract action team is doing a Summer of Solidarity campaign, going to community events and asking people to sign a letter to Mayor Harriet and the city council. Let's give a shout out to city workers. Any city workers here? Yay! Woo! Woo! And we're here handing out these little leaflets that has a QR code where you can tell the mayor and the city council to, support a contract that city workers deserve. So please send your letters to show support. What will build an influential militant push that gets the attention of the city officials, is essential to unmask the power of rank and file members in this fight. Our unions, the coalition of city unions, need to focus on broadening this fight by organizing and educating more members to be active participants and decision makers. Because when they unleash our power, they cannot get away with giving us a crappy contract. Instead, we can win a contract that we deserve. The city should not solve their budget shortfall on the wages of city workers. They have enough money. They have enough money to give workers more than the stupid 1%.
Yeah.
Seattle is one of the wealthiest cities in the country, and they can start raising revenues, not on our wages, but by taxing big business, and they need to stop subsidizing the developers.
Yeah!
With your community support and a militant rank and file, city workers can win a contract we deserve and keep going with the city services that everyone deserves. I am filled with pride and excitement that we are all here to commemorate the abolition of slavery, a deeply rooted racist institution. Slavery also exploited and devalued black labor. This wonderful holiday, Juneteenth, not only represents the triumph of slavery, but it is also a reminder that the fight for freedom continues as racism continues to fester and grow, and black labor, along with all workers, are still being exploited. With all of us united and fighting on all fronts to end racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, and all forms of inequality, we can triumph. One quick revolution to abolish capitalism, and we can truly build a democratic society. So keep on fighting, everyone. Happy Juneteenth, everyone. Thank you.
City workers against concessions.
Okay.
Woo!
Put your hands together for Christine Lopez one more time.
Woo!
Please welcome to the stage the Black Prisoners Caucus Community Group.
Woo! All right, welcome Black Prisoners Caucus.
How's everybody doing?
Yeah, happy Juneteenth.
Woo! It is. It's we kind of high up. Hey, can y'all hear me in the back? All right, all right. Well, we are members of the Black Prisoners Caucus community group. You see the sweatshirts, you see the chains. This is us. So we want y'all to get to know us. When we leave this stage, we want y'all to approach us. And that's where the work happens. The work happens between labor and community. Yeah. It can't be no divide. Woo! Yeah, you can clap for that, it's good.
Woo!
But the Black Prisoners Caucus, it was formed over 50 years ago inside of Washington State prisons, primarily to gain access to jobs, resources, hygiene, all of the above. But the Black Prisoners Caucus is a continued fight against discrimination, racism, and exploitation, because we're here about exploitation, right? We hear about the 13th Amendment, that clause that allows them to have free labor inside of prisons, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all gotta wake up around this joint. I don't know what's going on around here.
Amend the 13th Amendment.
Yeah, you gotta wake up around this joint. And so so pretty much, that fight from 1865, we talking about capitalism at its finest, the highest level of capitalism, slavery, free labor, and then they created the 13th Amendment with so-called free people, but they slid in that clause. Whoa! That clause that allowed prisoners to work for free. Does anybody know how much a prisoner makes in Washington State? How much? 30 cents.
Wow.
30 cents an hour. After 6 months, you get a raise. You know how much the raise is? Close. 6 cents. After 6 more months, you get a raise. You know how much the raise is? 6 cents. And you top out at 42 cents.
Wow.
So this ain't a game.
Yeah.
We've experienced exploitation.
Yeah.
And now we're here fighting against it.
Good.
And we need y'all help. The community needs y'all help to advocate for the people inside who's voiceless right now. Mm-hmm. Like I said, the Black Prisoners Caucus, you can find us at blackprisonerscaucus@gmail.com. Get to know us.
Yeah, this is a little steeper than I thought it was.
You're okay.
Hey, we stand here in solidarity with this worker movement.
Right on! Yeah!
As the Black Prisoners Caucus, we understand what exploitation looks like. We understand what the lack of access looks like. We understand what the marginalization looks like, because we have been there. But now we are here in community, making sure that we advocate for the rights and justice for all.
Hell yeah!
And the rights and just for all means work in solidarity, work in community, and that's what we're here for, and that's what we're here to do. It's important and it's imperative that we understand the history of the 13th Amendment. That loophole that not only led to the exploitation of those who were incarcerated, but also it was one of the components that continued to allow for black and brown folks to be hyper incarcerated, mass incarcerated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, let's acknowledge that history. Let's acknowledge the ways in which the prison industrial complex has historically harmed our communities.
100%.
It's not a system that's built on justice. It's a system that's built on capitalism.
Yeah.
And the ways in which this capitalistic system has exploited our communities has been through slave labor.
Yeah.
And that loophole has extended to incarcerated labor.
Yeah.
In which we have for-profit prisons
Yeah.
that are not focused on rehabilitating, not focused on transforming, not focused on empowering community members, but on making sure that their bottom line is met.
Yeah.
And so now we have a system inside of Washington State prisons of correctional industries in which millions of dollars are being made on the backs of the incarcerated,
Yeah.
making pennies for the millions in which the state is making and bringing back.
Yeah.
And who's benefiting from that? Who's seeing that? It's not us.
No.
It's not community.
Yeah.
And so what we're here to do today is to stand for, to call for all of us to unite our efforts. Is that at the end of the day, when we celebrate Juneteenth, it's hard to celebrate an incomplete holiday. None of us are free until we're all free.
Yeah.
I said none of us are free until we're all free.
That's right.
And so while we are here, we have received our liberation from the carceral system. But there's still many who are in that oppressive system that have yet to see true liberation, have yet to see what equality looks like. There's many workers in the movement that are fighting to be unionized, fighting to have their voices heard, fighting against the subsidies of the state. But when will we work in solidarity and come together? When will we stand up and say, this is the moment that this ends? This is the moment that we do something different. This is the moment that we demand change. Is this that moment?
Yes. Yeah.
Is this that moment?
Yeah.
Is this that moment?
Yeah.
And so what we would like to do is we would like to have my brother Brandon come up and speak to some of the action steps that we're asking for community. Is that it's not about the rallying cries or just getting everybody excited.
Yeah.
It's about action.
Yeah.
How do we mobilize after this? As we're here on Juneteenth, let this be a line of demarcation that marks where we go going forward and how we unite this movement going forward. Worker rights for all.
Worker rights for all. And we mean all.
How y'all doing? How many of you have this? So, Black Prisoners Caucus Community Group, we are in solidarity with the Juneteenth Committee. If you look at the back of your pamphlet, you can find out how to get at them on Instagram. Everybody take out your phones. There's a QR code right there and connect with these brothers and sisters, right? Hold this up if you got it. If you don't, there's some around. They can pass them out right now. We appreciate you.
All of us or none.
All of us or none.
All of us
or none.
All of us
or none.
All of us
or none.
All of us
or none.
I can't hear you. All of us
or none.
Yeah! 3 cheers for the Black Prisoners Caucus!
All right, let's give them another round of applause.
Woo!
Please welcome Katie Garrett. It's Katie Garrow, right? All right. MLK Labor.
All right, Katie.
Good afternoon, brothers, sisters, and siblings.
Hi, Katie. Happy
Juneteenth to all the Black and African American workers. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you for your sustained fight for freedom and full inclusion in the American labor movement. Thank you to Brother Gabriel Prawl for hosting this awesome event. My name is Katie Garrow and I lead MLK Labor. MLK Labor is a 135-year-old institution. And with the history that long, you are bound to have some skeletons in your closet.
Yeah.
MLK Labor has not been immune from a history of racism against Black people in America. Over the last few years, we have seen an increased fight for Black lives in our local labor movement. Just 3 years ago, there was a motion to remove the Seattle Police Officers Guild from MLK Labor.
Yeah!
Many of you were there to support that effort, saying that we had tried to reform from within, but the harm being caused by our relationship with the Seattle Police Officers Guild was responsible for alibying racism and injustice. And from there, we began an important journey, a journey to becoming an anti-racist union movement. One of the steps that we have taken since then was to form a racial justice task force. That racial justice task force has many leaders who are here today. I see Paul, I see Gabriel, I see Kevin Allen. That racial justice task force is evaluating the MLK Labor Constitution, policies, and practices to make recommendations for change within our institution. We also have begun a reparations project. That reparations project is looking back into our history. At MLK Labor, we have minutes from our institution as far back as the 1880s. Wow. We have a union newspaper called the Union Record that tells the story of racial exclusion and injustice inside of our institution. And so the work we have began to do is to understand how the labor movement has excluded and harmed Black workers in order to make recommendations for change. I'll just share with you one of the instances that I was reading about last night, which was where MLK Labor Executive Board had voted to not allow a union made up primarily of Black workers into the Labor Council. Boo! And while an instance like this of overt racism would not be tolerated by the body today, we still are the same institution. We still have many of the same structures as an institution that we did 135 years ago. We still are made up of industrial trade sections. We still have an executive board. We still have a constitution. And it is worth evaluating whether those structures and policies that were founded by people who had values rooted in white supremacy need to change. This is for two reasons. I'm a millennial labor leader and I think a lot about the future of the American labor movement. The American labor movement, unions right now have a 77% favorability rating. That makes unions more popular than hot dogs. And yet, less than 20% of the American population belongs to unions, despite its incredible popularity with young workers. And we need to be asking why. The future of this country and of the working class is to be majority minority by 2032. That means that the labor movement will have to change if it wants to keep pace with the workforce, if it wants to be fully representative of its members. The other reason, of course, to combat racism within our ranks is because it's a moral imperative. Because the essence of racism is humiliation. And the essence of the labor movement is the dignity of all workers.
Yeah.
And so where we see the indignity of racism endured by our fellow brothers and sisters, it is our responsibility to identify it, eradicate it, and stand up against it. Brothers, sisters, siblings, thank you for being here today. Thank you especially to the Black and African American workers for hosting this event and for the invitation. Solidarity.
Thanks, Katie. All right, Katie.
All right, Katie, put your hands together one more time.
Woo! Good job, Katie.
So I hope you all have enjoyed the speakers thus far. We have a few more coming up, so don't go anywhere. We're going to have another selection from our band, and then we'll hear from our next speakers. Please welcome again C.T. Thompson and the Classic Soul Band.
All right, yeah.
Oh yeah. Y'all give it up to the speakers out there. It's sounding pretty good. And I know if you're having a good day out there, just wave your hand in the air. Let me see. I want to know if anybody hanging out with us up in here. All right now. Also, I want to say happy birthday to everybody born in June out there. Have you any June babies out here? We got one, we got two, we got three. That's it. No more June. Y'all, let's do it. Night of September, love was changing the minds of pretenders as the stars stole the night away. Our hearts were ringing in the key that our soul was singing as we danced through the night. Remember how we knew that was here to stay. Party hard. Say, do you remember party hard, dancing in September, party hard, never was a cloudy day. Ba-do-do-wa-do, ba-do-do-wa-do-wa-do-wa-do, ba-do-do-wa-do-wa-do-wa-do, ba-do-wa-do-wa-do. Yeah, Lord. My thoughts are with you. Holding hands with a heart, see you. Only blue talking love. Remember how we knew love was here to stay. And December, all the love we shared in September. Only blue talking love. Remember true love we shared today. Party hard. Say, do you remember party hard, dancing in September, party hard, never was a cloudy day. Ba-do-do-wa-do, ba-do-do-wa-do-do-wa-do-do-wa-do, ba-do-do-wa-do-do-wa-do-do-wa-do, ba-do-do-wa-do. No bells were ringing, yeah, and love was singing. Do you remember every cloudy day? Party hard, say, do you remember party hard, dancing in September, party hard, never was a cloudy day.
angle. I'm like, fuck.
All right, we gonna turn it
For
over.
the band.
Woo!
Please welcome to the stage ILWU Local 23 Joseph Womack.
All right. Yeah, Joseph. Casual. Nice. Wasn't that nice? Yeah, Joseph.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I need y'all to say, I am my brother's keeper.
My brother's keeper.
Yeah, one more time, y'all. I am my brother's keeper.
My brother's keeper.
They said, united we stand and divided we fall. And just coming here and seeing us all together tells the truth. A little story you can read in the Bible is about the children of Israel when they left captivity. They had Moses to lead them, but they had to travel around the circle for 40 years because they still had a slave mindset. And after 40 years, there came Joshua, who was a conqueror. And he led them to Jericho. And in Jericho, they had to walk around and defend themselves. And you heard the story of the Jericho walls coming down, which shows us we have some walls we have to bring down. And if we work together, all the walls that we have that's dividing us, that is messing us up from working together, we can bring them down.
Yeah.
And I love that because it shows it in the job. It shows that in certain people that we work with. We may not be the same color. We may not have the same belief system, but we can work together.
Yeah.
And I have 2 boys, and there's 3 things I tell them. There's 3 things I tell them that you got to remember. The first one is to trust God. The second one is to respect your last name. And the third one is you are your brother's keeper. And I tell y'all this, the more and more we work together, the more we're able to show our children what it is to be united and what it is to be free. So I'm from Local 23, which is the best local. I think I'll start arguments there. But even there, we have some ups and downs. But if we come together and work together, we can improve. Yeah. And the job is always going to be there to pass it down to our children. And I'm telling y'all, if we work together, Seattle, Tacoma, California, we can come together and build something. And for Juneteenth, I'm so excited about it, just to tell my kids about it. All these things that are happening, especially here in Seattle, is incredible. But like I said, I am my brother's keeper. And if you remember that, we can work together. Thank you.
All right, Joseph. Local 23.
Okay, everybody, give it up for Joseph Womack.
Woo!
Next up is UW Department of Labor Studies. U.S. Department of Labor Studies. Is it Moon Ho Young?
Yeah, Moon Ho Young.
I'm going to say it again so I can get it right, okay? It's that Moon Ho Chung. All right.
All right. Woo! Welcome.
All right, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, so I teach up at UW and they tell me I have 45 minutes to give a history lecture. All right, so every fall I ask my students at UW this question, all right? Who was the most responsible for the abolition of slavery? Now, by that point of the quarter, most students can sense that it's a trick question, right? And they might hesitate a little bit, but usually more than half write down the answer that we are taught to believe.
Yeah.
And that answer would be
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln.
Fuck that
right?
guy.
Why Abraham Lincoln? Because he supposedly freed the slaves by signing the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863. But that document, that proclamation, did not free a single slave in the United States of America. It freed those held in bondage in
the South?
The Confederate States of America.
Yes, sir.
But then who was responsible? Who was most responsible for the abolition of slavery? The answer is so obvious and so dangerous that generations of American historians have tried to ignore it. They tried to dismiss it. The people most responsible for the abolition of slavery were
slaves.
The enslaved black people themselves.
Yeah!
So we can frame and approach the Civil War in many different ways, but I see it fundamentally and ultimately as one of the greatest slave rebellions in world history.
Yeah.
It was, as W.E.B. Du Bois put it, the general strike of 500,000 black workers.
Wow.
Those who dared to run away, those who refused to work, those who challenged their enslavers, they are the ones who abolished slavery.
Yeah!
They pushed so hard for so long that Lincoln had no choice but to accept, very reluctantly, that slavery could not survive the Civil War. And that is something that I hope we never, ever forget. Enslaved black people resisted against slavery, and they fought like hell to abolish it.
Yeah.
So on days like today, we need to celebrate and commemorate the past. And as so many speakers have been saying, we also need to commit ourselves to working toward keeping those revolutionary dreams of freedom alive. Now and into the future. Thank you.
Yeah! All right! Woo!
All right, put your hands together one more time.
All right, Moon!
Please welcome Brother Ed Hampton, community activist.
Come on in, all right!
And security. Security.
How y'all doing?
All right, brother!
Can I get all power to the people?
All power to the people!
Can I get all power to the people?
All power to the people!
Can I get all power to the people?
All power to the people!
You know, if everybody could come up here, not even come up, but just pay attention and listen, because what I'm about to talk about is, if everybody could just pay attention for a second, please, especially my brothers, my black men in the audience, because I want to talk about how the fact that we are hunted in this country. We're hunted every day. Every single day. I have to wear a bulletproof vest when I go to work. Maybe not down here at the port. I don't know if they allow that. I'm also in the Local 19, unidentified casual.
That's right.
On my way. I don't got the drip on, but you guys know. But we're hunted in this country as black men so that our families are left wide open and attacked to policies, to white supremacist groups, to police. Every single day we are hunted. And this is not a fact that is always prevalent in front of everybody's face, and we don't always have the preemptive measures set up, because every single day we don't die in this state or in this city, but somewhere in America, you best believe somebody black is dying. Whether it's from our own or whether it's from the system that creates our own to do it. Black on black violence, when you talk about it, it's in service of white domination. It was created by these conditions in this country, by the 13th Amendment, by making sure that we don't have the opportunities to thrive and take care of our families.
Yeah.
I want to talk about my brother. You know, I turned 30 years old this year. Can I get a whoop for that?
All right!
I turned 30 years old this year. I didn't think I was going to make it to C23. I grew up in the Central District. I grew up with gang background. I grew up not even being able to see myself reach 30. But when I got 25, I was like, I should probably start planning for life. And that's a crazy thing to think about. It's like, why am I starting to really plan out my life at 25 years old? That's something we're supposed to be doing since we're teenagers. 2 months after I turned 30 years old, one of my comrades, my best friends, my little brother, was murdered on Capitol Hill. His name was Elijah L. Lewis.
Elijah L. Lewis.
Can y'all say Elijah L. Lewis?
Elijah L. Lewis.
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 I met Elijah at Rainier Beach High School. He had a suit on, trying to start a business. He did have businesses going. He started a cleaning company, and he was a laborer in his own cleaning company. And he hired other laborers in his cleaning company and guided them and led by example as a laborer in his cleaning company. Fast forward to 2020, Elijah L. Lewis was active in the streets. He was on every stage. He was advocating for his people. Even as a teenager, he was speaking at rallies to end gun violence in our communities. He was a stand-up citizen and an immaculate young black man. And he was taken away from us at 23 fucking years old. At 23. Do you guys hear me? 23? He was taken away from us. What was he doing? What was the last thing he was doing? The last event that he went to was supporting the Black Prisoners Caucus, who you just seen up here. He was supporting the cultural awareness groups inside of Stafford Creek, who was dealing with repercussions from DLC, trying to stop them from having their regular meetings. That was the last event he was at. I gave him a hug and introduced him to a few of the brothers that were recently released from prison. And I said, this is a young brother y'all should know. He's like, oh yeah, we'll connect. Because a lot of these brothers inside create curriculum. And I was telling Elijah he needs to know them. 30 minutes later, he was murdered on Capitol Hill. How was he murdered? He was murdered taking his nephew to a fucking monster truck rally at the Seahawks Stadium.
By management.
He was murdered by management at a biotech company called Luminex by an executive.
What?
Yes, an executive at Luminex biotech company in South Lake Union.
Whoa!
He was protecting his nephew. The guy rode to the other side of the car and started shooting at his nephew, and his nephew was shot, and he drove off while diving over him and took the rest of the bullets that murdered him. Can y'all say Elijah L. Lewis?
Elijah L. Lewis!
Long live
Long live!
Elijah L. Lewis!
Elijah L. Lewis!
Long live! Long live! Elijah L. Lewis!
Elijah L. Lewis!
He was a laborer. He was a laborer in the community. He was a laborer at his own company. He was a laborer at Africa Town. He was a fucking laborer. He was working class. He was everywhere. Everybody who had something to say about him at all these events that we had for him, they all say they just seen him. Because that's how much of a laborer he was at. He was at every single event. He was at every single show. He was supporting all of his people constantly. He was supporting all people. Even the guy who fucking murdered him, if he was murdered by police, he would be on a stage speaking for him. And he was murdered over a road rage incident by a biotech executive marketing employee at Luminex on South Lake Union. A lot of people don't even know that they did a census to see how many what people came from the state from Seattle to go to the state capitol when they stormed the Capitol, and most of them came from inner city Seattle. I would think it would be the outskirts.
No.
You know, we know how people think on the outskirts, right? We see a lot of Confederate flags when we drive out, but it came from inner city Seattle.
Wow.
What does that tell you? Management.
Police.
Everybody in the city loved Trump being in office. They supported any type of racism that was going on that was convoluted and empowered by the Trump administration. Within the city, we know most of the Seattle police, the most police that were at the state capitol came from SPD.
Yeah.
We know that for a fact, right?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So we need to be aware. We need to make sure that we're fighting to amend the 13th.
Yeah.
Because to save people like Elijah, to support people like the Black Prisoners Caucus, to support black people in general having the right to have a family, to live a long life, that's where it begins. That's where we can all unite around. Amending this 13th. It's not a game. Like, we are hunted. Black men are hunted so that our families are left defenseless. And we know how many of our families are integrated now, so everybody's affected by it now. Everybody. Nobody is safe. Nobody. This man shot in broad daylight at a fucking 9-year-old. He shot him in the leg.
Wow.
In broad daylight on a packed Capitol Hill. Anybody could have got hit. Any of your kids could have got hit.
Right.
We have to be real about the conditions that have been created in this country for the last 400 years and how they're still prevalent to this day.
That's right.
We have to be very real about that. So we have to support Africa Town. We have to support any organizations in our community that are helping us get land, that are fighting for reparations, that are fighting to amend the 13th. So I just want to leave you guys with the memory of Elijah L. Lewis. Go look him up if you don't already know. I hope you already know. And I want to get a long live.
Elijah L. Lewis.
Long live.
Long live.
Elijah L. Lewis.
Elijah L. Lewis.
All power to the people.
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 The working class is the class that will move this country forward and will move the planet forward. Thank you.
That's right. Woo! Yeah, it happened.
Thank you, Ed.
That's right, Ed.
Continued service in the community and for all the work that you do and for speaking up and letting people know about Elijah L. Lewis and his life and the legacy that he left behind. Is there a Gordon Barnes still here? Gordon Barnes, UW Tacoma? Okay. Next, we're going to have...
All right, Gordon Barnes.
Hello everyone, my name is Gordon Barnes. I'm a professor at UW-T and part of the Labor Solidarity Project and also a member of the Internationalist Group. I'm a historian.
All right!
I'm a historian by profession. So like I was saying, my name is Gordon Barnes. I'm from UW-T in Tacoma and a member of the Internationalist Group. Happy Juneteenth, everyone.
Happy Juneteenth!
One of my favorite holidays, along with May Day. The previous speaker talked about how it was a general strike that actually liberated enslaved people in the United States, and that's true. And after that, there was radical Reconstruction, which gave the working class in this country many things that it has today, including free public education, right? And those things, we have to keep struggling for those things. However, with the defeat of radical Reconstruction, what has occurred? Racist hiring practices, racist policing, right? Anti-working class politics is what rules this country. The United States, right, is a capitalist country.
Yeah.
And the capitalist class was not defeated in the Civil War, which was a partial revolution.
Yeah.
We need another revolution.
Yeah.
A workers' revolution.
Yeah.
To put the working class into power.
Yeah.
Because the working class has the power to end racial oppression.
Yeah.
We cannot rely on Republicans or Democrats. The Democrats are the bosses of the racist killer cops.
That's right.
Right? We can only rely on the power of the working class. A power that this union, the ILWU, has shown multiple times in the struggle against apartheid, right?
Yeah.
In the fight for Mumia Abu-Jamal, the foremost class war prisoner in the
United
States. Yes, free Mumia. In many other areas, they shut down the ports in Juneteenth 2020 against racist policing. That's just in microcosm what the working class can do.
Yeah.
Right? So we need to break from the Democrats, break from the Republicans, form a revolutionary workers' party,
yeah,
and put the working class into power.
Yeah.
Another union, NUMSA in South Africa, which I had the opportunity to attend their Congress. They've done some work with the ILWU in the past around Mumia. They formed their own party, the Socialist Revolutionary Workers' Party, right, to split from the capitalists and fight for workers' power, right? So what I'm saying is that we need workers' action, right, against racist policing and racism in general, because it's systemic and it will not change with legislation. It's in the bedrock of this country, right? This country was founded on slavery.
Yeah.
And the abolition of slavery was only a partial revolution. We need a workers' revolution to fully end the vestiges of slavery and all other forms of oppression. Thank you.
Yeah. Woo!
Thank you, Joy Barnes. Next, we're going to have an audio file by Ron Kaminkow. Got it? Of Railroad Workers United.
All right, RWU.
Thank you. This is an important speech. Railroad Workers United. You may have heard about railroad workers. You may have heard about some things that happened with railroad workers recently. Anyone heard about that?
Yeah! They got fucked!
Railroad Workers United really wanted to have someone here in person, but guess what? They couldn't get the day off.
Yeah!
They couldn't get they all had to be working. Everyone in the organization who they tried to have be here had to be working.
Yeah.
Not just for a day's pay, but to not be fired from their job. Okay, that's how precious and rare a day off is on the railroad.
Whoa!
I want you to listen real carefully to these words of solidarity for Juneteenth and for longshoremen from Railroad Workers United. Because they're going to talk about something that you all may have noticed in this 21st century as people who move cargo. It's interesting. You wouldn't learn it from the capitalist media, but it's obvious to us that the employers, the shipping lines and the stevedore companies are less interested in moving cargo than we are.
Yeah.
They're moving, they're intentionally moving,
And they have for the last 15 years. Less cargo than they could.
Yeah.
As a means of raising the price of moving cargo.
Yeah.
Maximizing profits by moving less cargo than they could.
Yeah.
And he's going to tell you about how the same thing is going on with freight and rail.
Yeah.
Hello, and Juneteenth greetings to all. Thank you to the organizers of this event for inviting me to speak about the railroad labor question and the movement for public ownership of rail in the United States. My apologies for not being able to make the trip to Seattle to be with you all in person today. My name is Ron Kaminkow, and I am a locomotive engineer and a 27-year veteran of the rail industry, currently serving as the Vice President of the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen Division 51, and importantly, I also serve as the organizer for the Cross-Crash group of Railroad Workers United. The hero and the mentor of railroad workers back when our forefathers began to organize, and who remains our hero and our mentor to this day, was the great labor organizer and agitator, Eugene Victor Debs. His keen understanding of solidarity, specifically the need for cross-craft and cross-racial solidarity of all railroad workers, pushed the railroad workers movement of that day forward. In addition, he also just happened to be the hero and the mentor of a young up-and-coming labor and civil rights advocate, the great Philip Randolph.
Yeah.
So as we celebrate Juneteenth this year, I think it's appropriate to read a few short passages from Deb's speeches and writings from more than a century ago. First, here's an excerpt from an article published in the Indianapolis World, a black-owned newspaper of the time. Quote, "When we were organizing the American Railway Union in 1893, I stood on the floor of that convention all through its deliberations, appealing to the delegates to open the door to admit the colored as well as the white man upon equal terms. They refused, and then came a strike, and they expected the colored porters and waiters to stand by them. If they had only admitted these porters and waiters to membership in the American Railway Union, there would have been a different story of that strike, for it certainly would have had a different result." A few years later, in 1923, Debs would speak in Harlem upon the invitation of Brother Randolph on the question of black-white working-class unity and struggle. Quote, "The workers of the world, mainly through organized effort, are becoming conscious of their interests as a class, totally regardless of color, creed, or sex, and in time they will unite and act together upon a common basis of equality. The workers, white and black, want land and mines and factories and machinery, and they are organizing to put themselves in possession of these means of production. And then they will be their own employers. They will get all they produce, and the problem will be solved. The difference between their trust and the present-day corporate trust will be that it will embrace the whole population." Railroad Workers United is carrying on this important struggle to unite all workers, together with rail passengers, rural and urban communities alike, advocates of environmental and transportation justice, along with many others, to come together in support of public ownership of the railroads, just as Debs and Randolph had advocated a century ago. The corporate model that has held sway for so many years now continues to wreak havoc upon the working class, trackside communities, the traveling public, and the nation as a whole. Despite record profits year after year, the rail industry today is moving 21% less freight than it did 16 years ago. And while nations worldwide forge ahead with advanced rail systems, here we are going backwards. In the waning years of the Civil War, President Abe Lincoln pushed for a transcontinental railroad to unite our exhausted and war-torn nation. That effort was unfortunately fatally flawed, as it simply set into motion a concentration of private wealth and power that to this day runs roughshod over the country and its people.
Yeah.
The modern day, quote, robber barons that hold control and run the nation's railroad for their own profit and to hell with everyone else are just as powerful, if not more so, than their predecessors of the 19th century. Please help us in this grand historic effort to unite the nation, north, south, east, and west, by bringing the largest rail network in the world, that of the United States, under worker and public control. Both Eugene B. Debs and A. Philip Randolph would no doubt wholeheartedly approve. Happy Juneteenth and solidarity forever.
All right, RWU.
Railroad Workers United,
Woo!
brothers and sisters. Our next speaker, representing the ILWU Pension Club, who is also our sound man for this wonderful event, one of the men who set the table for us.
Yeah.
Brother James Barnett.
All right, James. Woo!
Hello, everyone.
Hi, James.
I'd like to ask a question. Are there any workers in the house today?
Yeah.
Yeah. Longshoremen have terms like stevedores, truckers. They have crane operators and the bull board.
Yeah.
I used to be on the bull board before I retired. The sling. Don't forget the sling board. Don't forget the wheat dock.
The linemen.
And don't forget the lineman. All right. You got a lineman in the house? You got a line woman in the house?
Yeah.
All right. I want to speak with you on the subject of the 13th Amendment.
Yeah.
Capitalism has a long history in our society and in societies from whence many of us have come. One part of society becomes immensely wealthy, as another part of society is exploited and poor. In European society, there existed the lords and the serfs, or the kings and the peasants. In the United States of America, in the 1900s, there were plantation owners or masters and exploited African labor called slaves. Capitalism is an economic system in which businesses own capital goods. At the same time, business owners are capitalists. Let me make a distinction. A lot of people call themselves capitalists, but they don't have any capital.
That's right. Huh? They're brainwashed.
Yeah, they think they're capitalists, but they don't have any products. They're moving someone else's products and calling themselves capitalists. You can't hear me? Can you turn me up? Get closer to the mic.
There you go.
So, business owners are the capitalists. Employed workers, labor, who only receive wages. Labor does not own the means of production, but only use them on behalf of owners of capitalism. So, for instance, longshoremen, I operated heavy equipment for longshoremen, top picks, forklifts. I operated mobile cranes. They were owned by the stevedoring companies. I was simply labor, and they are the capital. The ships that come in to the docks here, they're capitalists. Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and the owner of the Seahawks and the Mariners, they're capitalists. But if you work for Boeing and you don't have a business on the side, you're not a capitalist. You're labor. If you work for the city and you don't have a business on the side, you're not a capitalist, you're labor. So let's clarify who we really are. Yeah. Who are we today?
Labor!
we are laborers. We are laborers. So laborers does not own the means of production, but only use them on behalf of the owners of capital. Unfortunately for the African American in the 1900s, the employer or master did not have to pay any wages because Africans were slaves. That's the lowest, I said that's the lowest denomination of labor that you can get, is when you become a slave. Amen to that. That's the lowest number. And we have fought not to return back to slavery. We're fighting to stay away from slavery. We don't want to be a slave to anyone. This economic system worked lucratively well for the plantation owner.
Yeah.
So well that they were willing to go to war
Yeah.
against the United States and form the Southern Confederate States of America to preserve and to protect the institution of slavery. Nevertheless, and fortunately for many of us, the South lost the Civil War, and therefore their society of slave labor. Can we thank God that the Union won? Just thank God that the Union won, because if they didn't win, there would still be the Southern Confederate States and slavery would still be legal in those states. The South, after losing the war, also lost their slave labor. They did not longer want to be the Confederate States if they could not have any Confederate slaves, because they were getting rich on the backs of their slaves. And if they couldn't have slaves, they didn't want to leave. They came back to the Union. They became reinstituted into the United States of America. And they had to agree with what would later be known as the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment before they could become a part of America again. The Emancipation Proclamation that we talked about earlier was an executive order issued by President Abraham Lincoln to free the slaves in 1863. But as the Civil War was coming to an end, there needed to be something more powerful than an executive order. And so a movement was formed in the Congress to pass an amendment to the Constitution. You know, that's a wonderful thing to know that a group of people had such an impact on America that there was an amendment to the Constitution written for them. And I'm going to say something good about women, because there was an amendment to the Constitution just for women. The 18th Amendment. Can I hear it, ladies? Can I hear it, ladies? The 18th Amendment was written specifically for women. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment were written specifically for African Americans. The amendment to the Constitution came to be, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution became known as the Bill of Rights. And there was 61 years between the writing of the 12th and 13th Amendment, from 1804 until 1865. The 12th Amendment made clarification on the President and Vice President of the United States of America. The 12th Amendment was an even number, and that was considered to be so perfect. The number 12 was considered to be so perfect that people stopped and called it a dozen. But the number 13 was an odd number. Thank God for odd numbers. And considered to be logically unlucky because it followed the perfect number of 12. Imagine how psychological implications these were to the people who lost the Civil War, because they lost their labor force of slaves. And now to get back into the Union, they had to accept the unlucky number 13. Why is the number 13 considered so unlucky? It's lucky for some people, but it's unlucky for a lot of people. Well, they say that Judah, who betrayed Christ, was the last to sit down at the Last Supper. He was number 13 when he sit down at the Last Supper. Do you realize that over 80% of high-rise buildings in America, as we look across the skyline of Seattle, 80% of those buildings do not have a 13th floor? That's how unlucky the number 13 is considered. Notwithstanding, don't let it be Friday the 13th, because then you have to deal with the unluckiness of 13, and you also have to deal with the superstitiousness of the number 13. There was a backlash of movements all through the former Confederate States. One movement is called the Lost Cause movement. Another one was the segregation movement. Another one was the Ku Klux Klan movement. Another one was the Black Code movement, just to name a few. You see, they were so pissed off because they lost their free slave labor. And then you had to insult them and make an amendment and call it the 13th Amendment, a very unlucky number from their perception. But for me, the number 13 is a very lucky number. And for many of us out here today, the number 13 is a very good number. You see, I just celebrated 13 years of blissful marriage. Huh? I had 13 qualifying years on the waterfront.
All right.
Huh? The number 13 is a good number for me, and because of the 13th Amendment, my people have been made free. So the number 13 is a good number for me. Remember, I said earlier, capitalism only works best for the capitalists when the labor force can be properly exploited. Do you guys want to be properly exploited?
No.
Well, they want to properly exploit you. You want the money. I want the money too, brother. Huh? We want a job that will give us a wage that we can support our families, send our kids to higher education, live in a home that we can purchase. We want to have a job that can cause us to have the American dream. Whatever happened to the American dream today? You know, we talked about the American dream was to own your own home, to send your kids to college, to go on vacation at least once a year. You know, some people's, the first time when they win big, what do they say? I'm going to Disney. I'm going to, but some of us can't afford to go to Disney, huh? Because they're not giving us a living wage income.
I want to go to the Washington, D.C. Civil Rights Memorial in Washington, D.C. Man, I want to go there.
Amen, amen. The 13th Amendment has an amendment. It's one of the only amendments that has an amendment, and we call it a clause. And that clause says that the United States Constitution abolished slavery and involuntary servitude except as a punishment of a crime. Huh? An amendment with an amendment.
Yeah.
They couldn't just leave well enough alone.
Right.
They couldn't just free us and leave us alone. They said, well, if you commit a crime, guess what? You're a slave again. When the Southern capitalists lost their slave workforce, they turned to the exploitation of sharecropping, to the exploitation of recent immigrants who had just come to America, to the exploitation of immigrant workers crossing the border from Mexico, Central America, and South America, and it's still going. They turn to the exploitation of convicts. Today, it does not matter which race you are. If you become a convict, you will be a part of today's exploited slave labor. As the labor force of today, we need solidarity that cannot be partial to a particular race. Be it the white race, the red race, the yellow race, the brown race, or the black race. We need solidarity for the movement, for the labor movement, and for the human race. That's the race that we need to support. We need to support the human race, not the black race, not the white race, not the yellow race, not the brown race, but the human race. Now, we must not back down. We must not give up, but we must always keep up the fight for peace, justice, and human rights. Say it with me: peace, justice, human rights, peace, justice, human rights.
All right, James.
Okay. So I hope you all enjoyed the program today, and as we're beginning to close, before we go, I'd like to mention of the ILWU Federated Auxiliary. An auxiliary is an organization to strengthen and benefit the cause of trade unionism. An auxiliary to a union means added strength to the union. It teaches the members how they may help preserve the union. We unite in one organization regardless of religion, race, creed, color, political affiliation, or nationality. All people within the jurisdiction of the Federated Auxiliary promote the general welfare of the ILWU by education, political action, consumerism, picketing, economic aid, and improving labor conditions. An auxiliary can act as an ally to a union. Unions always need all the allies they can muster in the economic, educational, legislative, and political fields. Who can join? Federated auxiliaries of the ILWU shall include relatives of all workers, including casuals associated with the International Longshoremen and Warehouse Union, regardless of craft. For more information on this, get in contact with Lanita Williams. She is president of Auxiliary 3, Seattle. Woo! With that being said, we're going to close our program for the day. Hope you all enjoyed the history lessons given here today. Remember, the purpose of remembering our history is not to throw a pity party, but to give us the strength, to remind us, to muster up the tenacity, to keep going, to get stronger, to move forward, and to unite together so that we can make this world a better place.
All right, Vanessa.
And solidarity to all. Thank you all. Happy Juneteenth. Thank you all for coming out, and I hope you had a wonderful day. We enjoyed having you all here with us. And we're going to close out this day with C.T. Thompson and the Classic Soul Band.
All right. Woo!
Thank you so much. Those speeches were very illuminating and inspiring. Thank you. We're going to do a little Jane Brown so we can, y'all tap on out. Do a little Jane Brown? Oh, yeah.